Good morning, good evening, and good day. I'm Evan Dudley. I am the UAB beat writer for the Alabama Media Group, or AL.com. A little background before we go into the topic. I graduated from the University of Alabama in 2016. I was a returning student. I started my college career in 2001 at Itawamba Community College in Mississippi. I was a music major. Eventually moved down to Tuscaloosa, played in a lot of different bands, ended up touring across the country with many different bands. Met a lot of different people of a lot of different walks of life, which played a huge role in my personal feelings and how I feel about this topic we're going to discuss. But anyways, I returned to Alabama as a student in 2012. Graduated with a degree in journalism. I moved to Texas for about 7 months, was a sports editor of a small local newspaper out there. The local team made it to the Texas State Championship and won, so I was able to cover a Texas State Championship team. That's a 16-game season total if you make it to the finals, so it was basically like an NFL regular season. It was a great experience. Got to go to Jerry World and cover all that, what they say in the movies and TV shows about Texas high school football. It's all true. It's all true. I can attest to that after just one season there. However, got a little homesick. I was in East Texas, so rolling hills, pine trees. Figured I might as well go back to Alabama. Moved back to Tuscaloosa. Took a job as the sports editor for the Wetumpka Herald for a few months. I eventually was given an opportunity to start covering UAB, so I went with that and have been doing that ever since. Obviously, currently in our COVID quarantine lifestyle currently, I have not been able to work as much. All we get is about phone calls, a few interviews here and there, get out a story, maybe some schedule changes, things of that nature. So that's pretty much life in the time of COVID for a sports writer, especially one that covers a school like UAB. I'm not covering Alabama or Auburn or Florida, Mississippi State, an SEC team or anything like that. There's plenty of opportunities for great stories to tell, though. That brings us to our topic, and our topic is stick to sports. I'm sure you've probably heard plenty of this whenever sports writers try to speak their minds. Like I said, in my time as a musician, I met a lot of people of a lot of different walks of life. It gave me a perspective, especially for a straight white male that grew up in a lower middle class family in Alabama. I guess I had some adversity to overcome, but I was definitely given an advantage. Being a white male in this country. Let's save space here. Let's keep it 100, as the kids say. That's y'all. Most of y'all, anyway, that are listening, watching. Anyways, that's our topic: sticking to sports. Navigating the current landscape and recognizing the vital role sports writers and athletes play in social change. That's obvious. You see how many people are talking about how they wish sports was back. During this time of quarantine, and that's how much sports means to people, how much it is a fabric of everyone's life. It's a big part. There's always the the adage that sports is a metaphor for life. So it is a big part of everyone's life. So the sooner we can get back to that, the sooner we can get back to telling stories. But within that, I think that there are platforms for obviously sports writers. We publish work, and we have published work. We write stories. There's columnists who really talk. They write their opinions. Myself, I'm just a beat writer, so I'm reporting facts, telling, writing feature stories, which is probably one of my favorite things. Kind of gets me out of the stale, facts and reporting, lets me kind of broaden as far as a writer. That being said, just being able to have a platform for writers, that's kind of automatic. Athletes, just because of their celebrity status, just known throughout the country, throughout the world. Some people are. They are, they have a platform as well to use. So it's. I think both can have it, but also there are some pitfalls to using your voice. Maybe not so much pitfalls because it goes to something I'll discuss at the very end. What I think is one of society's great problems is we have been taught the value of obedience over the value of right and wrong. It's all about obeying rather than choosing the right or wrong path to take. And so within that, we're going to open this up. So, here we are, stick to sports. So let's start off. Obviously, athlete protests have been around for a long time. This one in particular, John Carlos and Tommy Smith at the 1968 Mexico City Olympic Games. As in my notes, it's one of the most profound athlete protests in sports history. They were eventually expelled for the remainder of the games, but were not required to return their medals. They won respectively gold and bronze. Obviously, they have their gloves. As they have been quoted, it was not so much a Black Panther symbol as it was a humanity symbol. They were trying to bring awareness to human plight across the world. In various areas that of inequality. Even the as you see the silver medalist was an Australian athlete, and he wore a patch that the other ones wore in I'm trying to think of the word, in solidarity with the other two. He did not raise his arm. He felt it was not appropriate for him, but he showed his solidarity with them. But other historical protests, if you will, you have Jesse Owens at the 1936 Olympics. Jesse Owens is an Alabama native. I believe in Oakville. He was born. Grew up in Moulton a little bit. Eventually went to school at Ohio State. Was on the U.S. Olympic team for 1936 Olympics in Berlin. What we know are the facts. At the medal ceremony following one of his events, he won gold at. Adolf Hitler obviously was the leader of Germany at this point. It's in 1936, so it's a few years before World War II starts. He shook the hands of the German competitors and victors, but refused to shake the hands of anyone else. Now, that is what we know. Obviously, we know Hitler had designs on blonde hair, blue eye, German supermen, ruling the world. So I'm sure it was probably a hit to him, seeing a young African American man from America, specifically from a small town in Alabama, come in on the grand stage of the Olympic Games and win 4 gold medals, which that was not accomplished for almost 50 years, I believe, when that was eventually passed. So athlete protests have been around for as long as sports have been around, almost. Athletes use their platform to say something, to bring awareness to something that society needs to to take a closer look at. So what we come into today, probably the most known one currently, is the Colin Kaepernick Anthem protest. What we know is he sat during the anthem during an NFL preseason game in 2016, protesting systemic racism and police brutality in law enforcement. He eventually decided to kneel after speaking with a Green Beret, former Green Beret. He thought it would be more respectable to kneel so he could show respect towards servicemen and women who have fought for his right to protest. He thought that sitting down was disrespectful, but kneeling would be a respectful sign. This comes into my own personal opinions. I have no idea anywhere how anyone got this mixed up and thought that kneeling was a sign of disrespect. If you've ever played sports, if a guy on the other team gets hurt, what does the coach tell you to do? Take a knee. It's respectful. Medieval times, knots. How are they knighted? You knelt. You knelt and you were knighted. So kneeling has always been a sign of respect. From my perspective, from a historical perspective, really. So I never understood the correlation. I think that was politicized by certain political candidates at the time for his own selfish gain. But that's neither here nor there at the moment. So let's kind of continue on with Colin Kaepernick. Obviously, this kind of starts uniting other, athletes to speak up. Speaking of, before we go on, I just wanted to talk about this. I am a Boy Scout. I'm an Eagle Scout. I have participated in many flag ceremonies. I'm a member of a color guard. And I would just like to reiterate, with the respect to the flag, the U.S. Flag Code, Section 8, Addendum D, the flag should never be used as wearing apparel, bedding, or drapery. Should never be festooned, drawn back, nor up in folds, but always allowed to fall free. Continues on how it should be displayed. So wearing apparel, bedding, drapery. Let's go to Addendum I. The flag should never be used for advertising purposes in any manner whatsoever. It should not be embroidered on such articles as cushions or handkerchiefs and the like, printed or otherwise impressed on paper napkins or boxes, or anything that is designed for temporary use and discard. Advertising signs should not be fastened to a staff or halyard from which the flag is flown. Everyday Americans disrespect the flag on a daily basis more than they realize. Your American flag, napkins, and paper plates and cups at your July 4th barbecue, those technically violate the U.S. Flag Code, Section 8, Addendum I, right there. If you have an American flag bedspread, that's against the Flag Code. So just a little idea, especially being a journalist, you always research, but also from your background, you can learn a lot of things. Me being a Boy Scout, I learned a lot of things about flag code, flag etiquette. I've actually retired a few flags, but just burning a flag completely. There's a whole thing you have to go through with the ceremony and make sure certain things are a certain way, so it's disposed of properly. So I know respect for the flag. That's why I've never understood the misinformation about kneeling being a bad thing. I always thought it was a respectful way for a protest to happen, especially in the NFL, particularly when players were not brought out for the national anthem until a few years back, maybe at the turn of the century. It's probably been about 10-15 years, I want to say, but they used to not be able to come out on the field. That was something that the NFL made with some other deal, have the anthem out. I'm not really sure. I don't remember. I digress. Now we go on. All right, so Kaepernick's protest inspire others. LeBron James starts speaking up, which brings up the shut up and dribble escapade. Laura Ingraham, a Fox News, she works for Fox News. Laura Ingraham had her little editorial and said that LeBron James should shut up and dribble and leave political comments to people who didn't leave high school a year early. LeBron James is very wealthy. If you've watched anything besides a basketball game that relates to him, you'll understand that he's a very intelligent man. He has done a lot for his community. This is a guy who grew up in Cleveland, not a very booming, not a very big booming economy in Cleveland, but he made right. He took advantage of his gifts and he gave back. And so I think people should think about before they attack someone, what they have done, and how they have not really went for the glamour of it all. Because yes, LeBron James, he does these things, they're great things, but he doesn't get up there like, look what I have done. It's like, look what we can do with this, look what we can achieve with this. It's a very we mentality, which is, from sports, it's always a we thing, and LeBron James is, he's a teammate, he's taken very bad teams to the NBA finals. So what can we say about that? Anyways, Ingram responds with their infamous shut up and dribble statement. So LeBron eventually responds on Instagram, I am more than an athlete. That just continues to ignite other athletes to start standing up and getting up on their platform. Particularly when you talk about social media, athletes are some of the most followed. The most followed person on Instagram is Cristiano Ronaldo, a football player, soccer if you're American, is the most followed person on Instagram. He's the most followed athlete on Twitter. He's got 230 million followers on Instagram, 86 million on Twitter. Other athletes, obviously, in America, if you took percentages, athletes would probably be some of the top followers. Most followed people in America, most reacted to tweets or posts on Instagram just because of their stature. But Kaepernick and LeBron and a lot of more visible athletes started using their voice, and it's got the ball rolling. It's like a snowball effect, so it continues to roll, and you see other ones stepping up for that. And so that brings us to the more personal side of it. As a sports journalist, stick to sports. Here is an example of not sticking to sports. This occurred when the protests first started in the wake of George Floyd's death in Minnesota. There was a Confederate statue in Birmingham, in Lynn Park. It's in downtown Birmingham, right in the middle of the city. It's a Confederate statue. Most of these Confederate statues across the South were built maybe or erected 50 years after the Civil War was lost. So it's very much for a lost cause. It's very much for a symbolic oppression, because there's no need for that. We don't have many Union Jacks flying around the country on flagpoles. Maybe at embassies and at the UN, but we don't usually fly the flags of defeated enemies on our on our flagpoles, and a lot of people do that with a Confederate flag. Being from the South, I personally don't like it. I think it was a lost cause. I believe it was about slavery. I took a Civil War history class when I was at Alabama. This thing was going to happen. The Civil War was going to happen for years, because it all started really with with territories, new territories opening up, and the southern states wanted them to be slave states. Most of the northern states did not, and Southerners wanted them to have they tried to compromise and have at least the people of those territories vote whether they wanted to be slave states or not. But that kind of started lighting the fires. I think that was 1830s, 1840s, I believe. The Kansas-Nebraska Act, things similar to that in the 1830s, 1840s, which eventually led to the Civil War. But still, and also the South lost. It's over, guys. Robert E. Lee, a lot of statues of him, things named after him. For a West Point graduate, probably made the rookiest of rookie mistakes in battle and ordered Pickett's charge. Ordered a infantry charge up a hill into cannon fire at Gettysburg. That pretty much, I wouldn't say it was the final nail in the coffin, but it was definitely, it was the final nail, but it was setting it. It hadn't been hammered yet, but it was about to be set. So, anyways, while all these statues were going on, one night, we had one that protesters attempted to take down. One of our reporters right here, Anna Beam, was on the side, tweeted out, now in Lynn Park in Birmingham, Alabama, protesters are trying to take down a Confederate monument. I retweeted. Obviously, I think they should come down. I see no place for them. I don't even see a place for them in museums. I see no place for them. I see no historical value of these. People say you're erasing history. How can you erase history by taking down a statue? Our history isn't statues. What are we? The United States of statues? You know, no, we are not the United States of statues. United States of America, Americans, all Americans. So, get out of here with that, statue stuff, in lost history. There's books. We can read books. It's that simple. Don't be lazy. Plus, I don't remember the last time I got a history lesson from a, 1-2 ton concrete block. So there you go. Anyways, I had to try to add a little brevity to it. Where's Florida Man when you need him? We all know about Florida Man. Interesting point about Florida Man. Why you hear about all these Florida Man? It's about the headline. Florida Man does so and so and so. They're not giving out the name. It's just Florida Man. That's how they describe him. And that's because the state of Florida, has some of the best open record laws in the country. They're called sunshine laws because they're in the sunshine. Florida, sunshine, everything's out in the open. So usually newspapers probably have their interns just mulling through sheriff's reports and police reports, looking for the strangest things that that they can find, and thus you have Florida Man dies after wrestling alligator and ape that escaped from zoo. Some weird, stupid thing would not be believable. It's almost like an Onion article, but it's not. It's Florida Man. Anyways, where's Florida Man when you need him? Keep pulling, you magnificent patriots. I thought it was a little bit funny. Also, a little bit patriotic. America, home of the free, land of the brave, all that good stuff. Equal. Everyone equal. I'm a very American person, and not just for my subset of ethnicity, but for everyone. I truly believe that for everyone. But some people, were down with that, and others were not. Here is one such people. Yes, you can see his name. You can see his Twitter handle. I have no regrets about putting him on blast right here. You put it on Twitter, it's there forever, bro. Let's keep it 100. So this gentleman right here got into it with a little bit with me. His argument was that they should go about the legal means of taking it down. They've been trying to do that for some time. Even Alabama put forth a law a few years back saying that there would be, consequences for removing statues. So there's pushback on that. So they had tried to go through the legal ways, and sometimes it takes a little rebellion and anarchy to get things done. It's nothing that's ever changed the world was done very nicely. Things have, I'm not saying violence, but things were not done nicely, sipping tea and, being friendly with one another. Sometimes you gotta get on something. But anyway, I digress again. This gentleman wanted to tell me about how I lost, 8 followers in 10 minutes. I think I might have lost like 10 or 12 followers during, the next day or so. I now have about 30, 40 more followers than I did at the time of this man's tweet. So, I don't know, last laugh or whatever you want to call it. I'm not that vain, but yeah, this is an example of what not to do, man. Just look at that last line. I hope that when sports return, you will be out of a job. Just because I, gave my piece about how I think Confederate monument should come down. It's a personal thing I believe in. I see no gratitude in a heritage that represents that. So that's not for me, man. My Southern heritage is white, black, everyone. We're all together. We're all Southerners. We all love one another, and we're all gonna be nice and sweet to one another because that's how our mamas raised us. So, anyways, this gentleman right here, doesn't want me to have a job. I don't believe I blocked him. He unfollowed me. I try not to block many people on Twitter. It's not really my jam unless they're just a bit too much. But yeah, this is a little bit of the pushback you have right here. But in saying this, maybe some of my feelings, like I said, from my earlier life, going across the country, meeting different people, different walks of life, different colors, different ethnicities, races, religions, whatever term you want to give it. I've learned about a lot about people, and that's one thing. If there's anything in this world worth a damn, it's people. And so you got to think about that as a sports journalist, and especially when you look at these next stats I got for you right here. All right, so if you're a pro sports writer and you're covering the NBA or the NFL, guess what? You got 75% of NBA players are African American. That's within the last 5-10 years. Give or take a few percentage points here and there. NFL players, 69% are African Americans. And these obviously don't count other ethnicities, other minorities, should I say, not just ethnicity minorities. So at least almost 70% of pro athletes are African Americans. If you're a college sports writer or reporter like myself, you look at this, 47% of NCAA football players are African American, and 64% of basketball players are African American. So the majority of your job is speaking and trying to tell the stories of young African American men. And I think in doing so, that requires a great amount of empathy. Now, as a white man, I can never understand what it is like to be black in this country, not even so much long ago, but even now, because not much has changed, just everyone's got a cell phone, and so we can see a lot of things now. That much is true. We can make that assumption. But, you got to empathize, you could, because you can never understand it completely. I will never understand it because white privilege, some think it's a nasty word. I thought it was at some point, I think I might have just misunderstood what it really meant. I think maybe I touched this at the beginning of this video. But I never had to deal with certain things, and I had, certain things were probably granted to me because I wasn't black. In certain situations, I might have been in more trouble if I was a black man. So in my job, with half of it being speaking with young African American men, I find it necessary to be empathetic to them and to try to not to completely understand, because I can never understand, but I can learn to empathize with what they have to go through and on an everyday basis and what they struggle with. And because like I said, a lot of the thing I like to do is write feature stories, and sometimes these guys have had a hard life. Some of them have had, rather easy ones. But it's a responsibility you bear as a sports writer. I believe, especially when you tell personal stories of athletes. You have a responsibility to be fair to them, objective to them, but also highlight their achievements. But you want to be objective. I like to think I'm objective. I can. When you're doing good on the field, I'll tell you. If you're sucking, I'll tell you that too. But that doesn't mean I don't care about the people I cover, and I root for them individually. I cover UAB. Am I a UAB fan? No. Am I a Jordan Smith or Chris Small fan? Yes, I am. I'm very much a fan of theirs. And I hope they do well, and I hope they succeed and realize all their dreams. And but I think and I'm reiterating at this point, but I think as a sports writer, considering that at least half your job is speaking with young African American men, or even grown men of color, of any kind of minority. When you get into pro sports, especially with Major League Baseball, there are a lot of those of Latin descent in that sports league. So you have to empathize with these people, especially if you're a white male, because obviously there's a discrepancy in diversity in sports writers. Obviously athletes, we see our majority coaches, there's a disparity. Sports writers, disparity, although it's a little bit better than what it was, as well as women in the industry. These are the things I all support, the more inclusion, because the more we're all included and the more we're all together and on the same page, the better off we can be. But like I said, it's just a responsibility of sports reporters, sports writers, sports journalists, that yes, we have to tell the truth. We have to be objective, but we're also human. We also have our own feelings, and if you're going to be in this line of work, I believe those feelings need to be empathetic to the plight of people of color in this country, especially when as though we have made strides, many times over in this country, we are still far from where we need to be. And this is a touchy issue. I won't say it's controversial because it's not controversial. This is a pretty black and white humanity type of deal right here. It's black and white. Either you care about other people or you don't. I mean, it's that simple. And I mean, I could, it's. I guess it's hard to kind of put into words, how I feel about it. But I just believe that this is a primary part of being a sports journalist is the empathy and respecting other people. And so that's to say, when you're out there and you're on social media, don't be afraid. Now, you might have a talk with your employers at some point beforehand. I'm sort of on a contract basis, so I'm not. I wouldn't be considered a staff writer for AL.com, but I am the guy covering UAB sports, so I feel a little bit more free that I can speak my mind on that. But also from what I've seen on on some of my colleagues there, they are free to speak their minds on personal opinions, as well as being able to back it up too with some evidence. So it's a tightrope we got to walk, but I think it's bemuses us to be better people than better journalists. Yes, we need to be better journalists. We have to capture what's going on. We're the loggers of history, but above that, we are human beings, and we need to remember that, especially in our relationships with other people. And I guess that brings me to my final point. As I mentioned at the beginning, the value of right and wrong versus the value of obedience. I think that's something an old friend of mine told me about long ago, and I wholeheartedly agree. And it's something we have talked about many times. There's this belief that the value of obedience is so important in this country, especially when we talk about police brutality, things of that nature. Well, if they would just obey the orders. That doesn't seem to work, as we've had plenty of video of people obeying orders and things still happening, bad things still happening. So we need to get back to teaching the value of right and wrong. What is right and wrong? Now that can change depending on certain people and what they believe, but there are times where there is a black and white, right and wrong, and I'm meaning black and white in a metaphorical sense. Where it's a very easy decision, to offer a helping hand, to understand another person, to be empathetic. So that's pretty much what it all comes down to, guys. So I thank you so much for being a part of the quarantine edition of the long weekend. Hope I didn't bore you too much. Hope people who watch this, if you get real mad at me, well, that's on you, man. It's not on me. I got a pretty good conscience on this. I'm just out here trying to help the people I love, man. And I love a lot of people, of a lot of different colors, and I love it. I love it. Colors of the rainbow, man. All kinds of folks. That's what makes this country great. What makes this world great, man, is all kinds of people. So y'all take care. Please wear your mask. I would like to work this fall and cover college football, so wear your mask so we can have college football. Please and thank you. Once again, thank you for participating in the long weekend. Hope you enjoyed the video. My thoughts on being a sports journalist in this time, with a lot of social unrest. Please, stand up for what's right. Speak your mind. Trust your gut and knowing what's right and wrong, because more oftentimes than not, you've been taught what's right and wrong. And if you haven't, and you've gotten into college and you've come out as a sports journalist or a journalist of any kind, then you should know better by now. You should know better by now. So don't make me call your mamas. All right. So y'all have a great day. Wear your mask, and yeah, guys, roll tide. Y'all take it easy.